All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are the Mindful Mama Collective. My name's Rebecca, and I'm here with my co-host Chelsea. And Chelsea and I recently did this amazing program called Thinking into Results, and it literally changed our lives. And so we decided more moms need to hear this, especially moms. That's really where our heart is. So this week, Chelsea's going to tell you a little bit about how it's changed her life. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more about it. But these are things that we don't get taught in school, right, Chelsea? And we don't get taught how to live well. And so we were so thankful and so grateful to be gifted this course. Actually, both of us were gifted it. And it was just absolutely life-changing. So my name is Rebecca. I'm a mom of 3 and a postpartum thriver. I've had postpartum depression with each of my kids and have learned to thrive even with that. And thinking into results was a huge part of that. So Chelsea, you're kind of going to lead the show today. Let's hear about you.
Yes, I'm so excited. And I love that we can be doing this together and from the comfort of our homes, which is so awesome. So yes, Rebecca did a little introduction. I'll get more into my story as we go through. I just want to welcome everyone for joining. This is our first chat and it's going to be one of many. I know that for sure. So yeah, Rebecca did say my name is Chelsea and I am very excited to share this with you. I'm going to teach you all about an idea that had a profound impact on both of our lives. Mm-hmm. And it has been proven that how we do one thing is how we do all things. So just when you think about that quickly in your life, how you thought about you doing one thing is how then you start showing up and doing other things in other areas. So that was pretty crazy when I learned that for the first time. How about you, Rebecca?
Yeah, that realizing that stress that I was feeling about certain things was actually how I was living my entire life. It was like, oh my goodness. It was definitely a bit of a shock and like a punch in the gut at first when I realized it too, because I thought, well, I'm doing this well, but not this. But really that stress was coming through in everything, right? And so that was a huge one for me. So let's go back to like, what was it like for you before you learned this principle? And like, you're married, you have kids. What did your life look like before you realized this concept?
So my life before I learned all of this was a lot different. There was not much happiness there. I was someone who was coming from a life that was constantly go, 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 push harder, go faster. And I had done a lot of work on my physical health, but I wasn't doing a ton on my mental health. So I knew I needed to start learning more in this area. I had just had a new baby at the time. This was back in 2018, and I rarely asked for help. And this was a big thing because we're moms. We're like, we can do it all, right? My husband and I were not really communicating most nights because I would feel so overwhelmed from the day. And at the time it was like, I only have one baby and we wanted to have more kids. It was like, how am I going to have more kids if this is how I feel with one child? So it was like, I knew things needed to change. I just didn't know how. So my husband, when he would come home, he wouldn't understand how I was feeling. He really wouldn't ask because I would then snap back at him. And I never really felt like talking anyways. And I remember looking at our baby and wondering why I didn't feel happy because he was perfect and everything in our life was perfect. And it was just, it never felt like enough. I had a really rough postpartum experience with our first. And I knew from this experience, it was my mindset that had to change in order to then go forth in having our second child. Like I said, I really didn't know how. So going into my next pregnancy, really nothing changed because I didn't know how, I didn't know what needed to change. I felt like things would be different, even though I had the same mindset. So our second birth was a lot different. So I was thinking, this will change a lot of things, but it didn't because my mindset was the same. It's a place that I feel a lot of moms get stuck in and they don't really know what to do to get out of it. So from here, then we started moving into the program, getting fully immersed in the new habits that we are now creating, and we are shifting out those old habits and paradigms. And then that is what started to change my happiness, my like everything, how I was parenting, how I was like communicating with my husband. It was starting to change everything in my life, which is just insane because I, again, never thought this was going to be what was going to happen, but it did. So my intention here for this whole talk is just to wake up the beautiful opportunity that you have inside of you and unlock the unlimited potential that you have. I think for the most important piece and what it was for me is getting really clear on what you want. So instead of putting your kids or your husband or your wife, spouse, partner, whoever first, I think you need to worry about you and put yourself first. That meant for me investing in myself, taking a program that I knew was going to literally change my life, regardless of the cost. Like it was going to change my life. I had seen results. I had seen so many people shifting their mindset, getting the results. I just had to feel it for myself. So I think that would be the biggest takeaway is do something that, first of all, get clear on the goal that you want, and then take action and start doing something to get you closer to that goal. Before doing any of this work, I never had a goal really. It was just like dreams or wishes. I think they would be more so called. I was like, oh, I wish I could have this, or I wish I could do this in our life. But it was nothing I was actually ever focusing on, or never a goal I was saying to myself every single day or visualizing myself already achieving that goal. Like that has changed everything for me, is actually visualizing myself already there instead of visualizing myself like it being so far away of me, like I will get there one day. It's like, no, I'm already visualizing myself. It's already happened. I'm already living it. So it changes everything when you see it from that place. So the truth is that we have infinite potential and you are here for a reason. So trust that you have attracted this message in for a reason. And we are all designed to create and be great. So trust that we are not meant to struggle, to settle, or to not live an abundant life. You first have to think of the kind of person who lives an abundant life and who earns the money that they desire. Because let's be real, like we have to make an income in order to buy the things we want to buy. That income is just whatever you want it to be, of what you desire in your life. So when we do, we understand that money is a magnifier. So we can make whatever the person you currently are, it's just going to make you a better version of that person. So it's like if you're a super nice, generous person, then having more money is only going to make that better. But if you're the opposite, then it's going to then those beliefs and the paradigms of money makes you evil or whatever we've heard doesn't have to be true. Because if you're not an evil person without money, then you're not going to be evil with money. And the reason that the majority of humans are not thriving is because they don't realize their own power and potential. Like there's something I've heard that we only use like the smallest fraction of our brain that we actually have available to us, and we are not even using close to a quarter of that or 3/4 of it. Like it's a crazy quote. I don't know the actual details, but like we are not living to our potential. We are not learning as much as we can learn in our lifetime. We are just staying kind of stuck and stagnant on where we are, and not, like the growth just isn't happening with most people. So yeah, instead of the stories that are planted in our subconscious mind from the time that we were young, as these stories were repeated to us, we began to adopt this as a truth, even though they were not true at all. I had a belief that I was shy, and I was told this my entire life. So me doing anything like this or doing videos or growing a business from home would have been something I told myself I could have never done, but I'm doing it because that belief is not true. I know I am more quiet, but I'm not a shy person. But yeah, let's dive into the mind. Now, we know before we go much further, I want to acknowledge that when I say the mind, I'm not talking about the brain. The mind is actually in every cell of our bodies. And for simplicity, I want to just say that it's only two parts. So there's a top and a bottom. The top is your conscious mind, and the bottom is our subconscious mind. The conscious mind collects the information, and our subconscious mind is what determines our behavior. So this is the paradigm, and it actually is controlling what we do. But we'll talk about more about that in the paradigm section. So everyone is thinking from one part, but doing from another. So there is a complete disconnect between the two, hence the results that we are getting and why they don't match up. You can tell everything about a person based on their results. And it is in the results that make the people so frustrated because they think we are doing all of the things, but yet nothing is happening. So just an example, when a person goes on a diet, they eat the cake. You ask them, why did you do it? And they have actually no idea why they did it, but they cover it up with excuses and alibis. There is a disconnect between what they know to do and what they actually do, which is just like so crazy. So we can dive into the paradigm section. So we can take the lid off. So we're removing the conscious mind, which sits on the top. Now we just have the subconscious mind. And here is where it all starts. Thinking about ourselves as a baby coming into the world with no preconceived thoughts about anything. So think of yourself now. Why do we love the food we eat? Because somewhere in our family tree, someone decided that they like it and constantly exposed us to it. And it's the same way with our habits, fears, and the way we show up. And all of this is ingrained within us in the first 7 to 8 years. Yeah, so I was raised where we like literally tried everything. Like my parents ate a lot of different foods, not so many like different cultured foods, but just a lot of variety. So there really isn't too much now in my life that I don't like. Just like the odd thing here and there, but there's not too much that I don't like. So I truly think it is because I was just exposed to a lot of foods within my first few years of life, what's made me now like explore more into the things that I want to bring into our home and the recipes that I want to make for our family now. So it's kind of cool how that all comes into play.
Yeah, so cool.
So the programming of habits is called our paradigm. It's called many things, but ultimately it's a series of habits that we know or that we have, and the stories that are based on what we tell ourselves. And it's all about from past situations, and it's all just preconceptions of what we think the situation was like or what we told it was like, because it could have been even before we even remember. Our paradigm is like a thermostat. So it's controlling the temperature of our life, just like it controls the temperature of your home. Our paradigm is the exact same way. It's just controlling pieces of our life. Well, it's actually controlling us 98% of the time, but I think that's somewhere in here. So we're not going to bring it back to the blaming. We're not going to blame our parents because they were doing the best they can with their current level of awareness. So it's the exact same as us. When our kids get older, if there was things they didn't like, there's no blame for what we did because we were doing what we could with our current level of awareness. So you don't want to sit in that blame game for very long, because when we know better, we do better. So ask yourself about your stories.
It's about realizing maybe that your parents did something wrong or did something differently, realizing maybe that's why you do something, and then go, okay, now how can I change it, right? We don't blame. We are all the people we are because of the choices that we've made, right? But recognizing the things that shaped you and got you to where you are help you move forward in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So think about your stories. Are they true? Not likely. Because again, it was probably something you were told as a child. And well, between the a birth to the 8 years old, and it probably was not true. But someone told you this at some point in your early life, and then you were then the law of attraction kicked in, and what you focused on, energy flowed more into that. And even now, what you focus on, energy will always flow into that. So focusing on what you don't want will only bring you more of what you don't want. So let's just chat about the law of attraction and vibration, because it's the driving force that helps bring all of this together. There are a number of universal laws, but this one is the law of all laws. And it specifically states that everything is in motion, nothing rests. We are all energy feeding off one another. So lucky for us who are now thinking you should quit while you're ahead, but we want to just sit in that for a moment and realize the harmony there is in the law of opposites. So that's one of the other laws. And it says that everything has an opposite: up, down, in, out, hot, cold. So the nice part is that there's an opposite to the stories that we have been told as well, which is nice to know, because if you've been told something, it is not true. Even though you've been living it for years, you can then change that belief.
Well, and a belief for me, or something I was told constantly, was you're too loud, you're too opinionated. And now I literally do this for a living. I have opinions and share them with people. Right? So it was that I was making others uncomfortable, but as I've learned to hone that gift, I'm not shy. I am not a shy person, and I have no problem being energetic and being the loudest person in the room, because I stopped believing the lie that my personality was a bad thing, right? And when I leaned into that and leaned into, okay, this is who I am. This is like my genetics, my at the core of me, I am a high energy person. And there's a reason for that. Like you said before, you're here for a reason. And so when I learned to lean into that and use that, that's when, first off, I started liking myself. And secondly, I started having a greater impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so cool that we even get to do this work, especially being not even 30 yet. And we get to do this work and what we're doing to bring this into our kids' lives. It's incredible. So let's just chat about decision. So are you ready to rewrite your story?
Let's do it.
So the law of attraction is rooted in decision. So this is the trigger. This is the beginning domino. Nothing happens until a definite decision is made. And the first it takes to make that definite decision is about your desire. And that gets the ball rolling, and it will dictate what you attract in. So fast forward to when I made the decision to change the way that I did this work. I tapped into my belief system and gave it a makeover. So I have been able to increase my income, and mine and my husband's relationship has changed dramatically. I became a more present mama. We won trips, was at speaking events, and I bought purchases that we told ourselves were too expensive. And I finally felt exactly like I dreamed of, which was happy. And now the more and more opportunities just keep flowing in. So since diving into this work, I have now found ways to show up and create more areas in my life that I never, ever thought I would have had interest in. And I've been finding more things that I am passionate about. And the cool part is that I am just at the tip of the iceberg of what I am going to create.
Yes. Yes.
So what are some biggest shifts for you, Rebecca?
Okay, so at the beginning of this year, I said, I want to be debt free. I'm so tired of making minimum payments. I'm so tired of just the financial stress. And I am so close to my goal, and things have just shown up, and finances have worked out, and things that didn't work a year ago all of a sudden work now. It's like when I decided this is it, this is enough, things, I started noticing things and focusing on, instead of going, I want to get out of debt, I started saying, I want to increase my income, right? Or I'm working towards financial freedom. Just that shift then took me from feeling overwhelmed and victimized to, I'm in control of this. I get to decide. And then a really cool one that started in March was I finally said to my husband, I want a greenhouse. I've wanted a greenhouse for years. This is what I want. And so I showed him a picture on Pinterest, and I'm like, it's super simple. It's not going to cost a lot. And he was like, okay. So he started doing some research and ended up building me a cedar greenhouse. And we didn't have to pay anything for it because there was gorgeous wood left over from a job he'd done. And now I have this beautiful greenhouse that I teach classes out of, and I sell plants out of, and it's just therapy for me to be in there. And it was just one of those things where I was like, I want this. And I had the guts to say it. And I wonder if sometimes, especially as moms or parents, we don't have the guts to say what we want, what we really want. Do I want a night away from the kids? Yeah, absolutely. But I want so much more. I want to create a life where I don't need that, right? I wanted the greenhouse. I wanted to not be making minimum payments. And when I decided, I didn't just say, oh, wouldn't it be nice? I decided I'm going to do something about this. Then it happened. And it doesn't always happen in the time frame that we want or how we want. But when you make that decision to do something, stuff has to happen. It just does.
Yeah, that's so awesome. It's like, that's just so awesome for you to be able to then like take one thing that was just, you thought originally was just going to benefit you as growing, like having your plants in your greenhouse, and now it's benefited so many different areas of your life, which is so cool.
So cool. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I can't wait to talk about all of that stuff in another week.
Yeah, we have so many topics lined up, which is so fun. So the moral of the story, and the kind of end as we end here, this work gave us results, which is what everyone is trying to find when they are just kind of feeling stuck or not having that goal in mind, and they need something that is going to give them results. This work gave us results. And it was, honestly, it wasn't easy, but it was simple. That is like the best way to put it. Like, it takes work. There's no way that anyone can do this for you, because it is your life and you have to create exactly what you want. And when I say that, like, I'm going to go into it, but it's just like, build your desire list, figure out exactly what you want. This is kind of your homework. Like, just figure all of this out, get to the details. If it's a dream home, figure out what that looks like, figure out how much things are going to cost. If it's achieving a specific goal in your company or a rank that you want to hit, like, figure that out. If it's something in parenting or motherhood or life or relationships, it's like, figure out exactly what you want and get specific. So get a journal and start writing it down, or use your phone, whatever works for you, and just get really specific on what you want, and then start there and just start taking action once you've figured that desire out.
Boom, mic drop. Well, Chels, I really enjoyed this conversation today, and I really hope that our listeners have as well. We're so excited. Like Chels said, it's not, I'm going to get it backwards. It's not necessarily easy, but it's simple. Or did you say it the other way around?
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's simple.
There you go. But we are so excited about this work, and we're so excited at how much possibility was unleashed for us when we were focused and sat down and wrote those goals down. And you're going to need a telescope. In a year from now, you're going to need a telescope to see where we are. And we want that for each and every one of our listeners as well. So, Chels, you have a bit of a freebie for people that made it to the end.
Yeah. So I want to offer a free goal setting session with me just for listening today, and we will go over everything that you have desired, that you have want as a goal, and we can chat more about that. And then feel free to follow me on Instagram at Naturally Balanced Mama, and then follow Rebecca as well.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at forevercurious92. All right, we're going to close up the room here and our conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We will be back here next week, Wednesday at 2 p.m.